Well, everybody, welcome to another Angeles Investors event. During this weekend, obviously, we're here for a couple of things, but one of the primary reasons we're here is to invest. So it would almost be criminal if we didn't talk about crypto. It would be not addressing the elephant in the room. And the other reason why it would be wrong not to talk about crypto or NFTs is because we're in Miami, which has been extremely crypto friendly. So how I want to frame this conversation is, in a somewhat selfish sense, my own experience with crypto and what I assume is some of your experiences, and maybe all of your experiences or none of your experiences. But with my experience, everyone kind of approaches crypto at first with some sort of skepticism. Then you grow a little bit curious, start peeling back layers, and then you kind of see some opportunity. And those two kind of go back and forth, with opportunity driving curiosity until you keep going deeper and deeper. And then you spend 6 hours on YouTube. But again, this could just be me. So the other reason why this is particularly adaptable or interesting to Angeles is also there's a lot of community centered at the core of crypto to some degree, and more specifically talking about NFTs. And with that, I kind of want to leave you with the thought of the three different things that NFTs can bring to not only Angeles, but different other things in the sense of community building, consumer or member engagement, or simply just using them as a collector's item. Now, I think I'm okay. Do we have all of our virtual members attending? To move on to our panelists that are here. And the way that I want you to kind of introduce yourself is not only tell us who you are, but kind of walk us through the journey that I mentioned about yourself, or that mental evolution of you going through the process. And maybe you didn't experience the skepticism. Maybe you dove right in and you knew this was the opportunity ahead of you. But I kind of want to start on the individual side and on the collector side, and then we'll go to the artist side. So, Jose, if you could introduce yourself and kind of tell us about your experience.
Thank you so much. Well, my name is Jose Roa. I am the co-founder of Comedy Monsters Club, one of the first NFT projects focused on Latin America. To walk you through my journey, I've been a crypto fan since the beginning. I started investing in crypto around 2014, more or less, when I was in university. I've always believed in the technology, and I know that it has many case uses, especially for countries like mine. I'm from Venezuela. So there's a lot of need for a decentralized way of, transactioning money and storing value and whatnot. But I started investing in NFTs last year and I saw something different because NFTs are related to something that it's the pop culture, that it's one of the things that move the world. I think this is going to be the Trojan horse that it's going to make crypto mainstream. So I started investing heavily into the industry. I saw the value of owning digital assets. And after big players like Facebook changed their name to Meta, you can see where the industry is going. And furthermore, I think this technology, it can be applied to many different industries and it's going to change the way we interact. Something like what the internet did. I think
Thank you,
what I
sir.
wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. Now, what about going to maintaining on the individual side to the artist? So, Jesus.
Yes, I'm Jesus Martinez. I've been in crypto since 2015, 2014, when I was about 18 years old. I first stumbled upon crypto when back in the day, and I used to, I was, I think, 15 or 16 or 14. I stumbled around it with Tor back in the days with Silk Road, and just a lot of like skepticism and just sketchy things. But what you use as transactions at the time was Bitcoin, and that's how I got into crypto, and then just started investing as soon as I turned 18. And now I'm an artist on super rare Nifty Gateways. My first piece went for 38,000, and then from there it's gone up for 50 and 100K. And I feel like I think there's a big misconceptions between PFPs and one-on-one artwork. Um, well, this is just my opinion. I believe PFPs will eventually, most of them will die out, and the real artists and the real innovators in the space that are building a story, that are building a narrative, as we've seen throughout history with artwork in the 1900s, is the story behind the artist is essentially what creates value, and is the story we were going to talk about 100 years from now is those artists that are making the story in this space and what they're contributing to society and in the internet.
Thanks, Jesus. So jumping over to the larger organization side of things, and I kind of want to start with you, Orlando, from a community builder or an ecosystem builder standpoint.
Hey everyone, I'm Orlando Gomez, also go by my initials OG, founder of Web3 Familia. It's essentially a community of learners and builders in Web3 that are looking to onboard 1 million Latinos to Web3 and learn the technology. And my journey was just like yours, Carlos, for the most part, as in terms of skepticism. My background's in finance. I've been in private wealth since like 2011 when I first got licensed, then investment banking, then VC. And it just like the narrative from banks was always, don't pay attention to crypto. People pay for pizza with it. It funds illegal activities. And it was just kind of this write-off of the technology. But it wasn't actually until back in November when I was interning with Harlem Capital and VC, I just saw like the caliber of founders building in Web3. And then I saw just the smart capital that was investing in it, how much was being raised to deploy into Web3, when it just became a realization where like Web3 is not going anywhere. This is the next frontier of technology. So, and we can already see that Latinos are underrepresented in Web3. They're underrepresented in tech, even worse in Web3. So like, we have to do something about it now. So that way 10 years doesn't go by and then we just realize there's a diversity problem. So that's where essentially it came. Being new to the space, I was willing to ask the beginner questions, and shout out to Jesus and JD who hopped on a Twitter space to and use their platform to educate a lot of Latinos as well. And Susi with Encantos with everything that people are doing to highlight Web3 in the Latino community, because we don't necessarily have to say anything revolutionary. We just have to be the voices that say it so it can connect with the audiences that need to hear it.
Yep.
Thank you, OG. And then last but not least, Susie, and you're coming at it more from like an enterprise angle. And could you kind of talk through that and introduce yourself as well, of when you guys kind of realized that there was opportunity here?
Sure. So my name is Susi Jaramillo, and I'm the president, co-founder, and chief story officer for Encantos. And I'm a classically trained artist, right? So I've been drawing, for a really, really long time, and I'm mostly known as the creator of Canticos. I'm an Emmy-nominated director, published many, many, many books, and I create worlds and I draw and paint. And so one of the things we really loved about the NFT space is how it just really allows artists to own and build their IP and create communities around people who love their IP. So we're doing that for ourselves with Canticos and our first drop of Kiki Chiki, but then we're building a one-stop Web3 full-stack shop for creators who want to create IP and build community around it and then launch that IP into the market. So basically, it's creators who want to help kids learn, and they can build a community of parents, stakeholders, investors who like what they're creating, love the art they're making, support their vision, and really believe in a better way for kids to learn than just being taught in a very dictatorial fashion by teachers. So that's what we're building at Encantos.
Thanks, Susie. So sticking on this theme then for a little bit, and specifically for Susie and Jesus, and maybe I asked this question because maybe there's less of us here who have it from the artist perspective, but was there any skepticism then to engage with crypto or NFT, this sort of technology, from that standpoint, whether it be enterprise or individual? And then the other question of, when you are seeking individuals to be part of that community, what qualifies somebody to be a good collector, if you will? I don't know if that's the right word, but what kind of people are you looking to attract? Susie, if you want to go first.
Sure. So I think there's way too many smart people invested in crypto to ignore it. It really, I feel like we're at the dawn of like when people were like, hey, what do I need an email address for? What do I need a website for? What's this banner ad? Like, I really feel like we're in that time frame right now with Web3. And I think we're actually at a point also when you have the chance to be a first mover. Like, you'll never be a first mover in YouTube or anywhere else. But in Web3, it's relatively, in the blockchain, it's relatively fresh. It's relatively new. I mean, we're at a gold rush time, right? So I think that what you have to do is jump in carefully. Like there's scam artists everywhere. If you're in Discord, every 2 seconds you'll have someone trying to scam you, right? So I would say jump in carefully. There's never been a time for IP creators and people who with projects who want to give the opportunity for investors to invest in your project. I want to invite you guys to imagine if George Lucas had, launched his character designs as NFTs before he brought Star Wars to life. What would those be worth, right? And wouldn't that be amazing if, like, the Disney artists had put NFTs of their art and actually owned it, as opposed to it being owned by Disney, right? So this is an opportunity really where artists, creatives can build a direct line with their community and really build out IP. So it's really exciting times.
Jesus?
I think focus on building genuine relationships. People always talk about like we're connecting our wallets to like our browser, but I feel like very few people, in terms of the collective rate standpoint, you're actually connecting your heart towards individuals, towards artists, to other people in the community. And I think focusing on just building just genuine, authentic relationships, like, because crypto's volatile, it's going to go up and down. And I feel like at the end of the day, what matters most is the relationship behind that PFP or behind that avatar or behind that artist. That's what matters most at the end of the day. So that's what I always tell people: just focus on building authentic relationships, and just have fun at the same time, because it's a very volatile space. But we're all in this together, just trying to navigate and just trying to build something beautiful in the space.
And then shifting to the individual side, then you talked about being authentic. You also talked about doing your own research. So JD or OG, whoever wants to take this, how do you go about maybe evaluating a collection? And it doesn't have to be for the sense of investment. It can be for the sense of community.
I can jump in. So in terms of due diligence, I like to think of it in like two different ways. So there's the one that where you connect with the art. So you're buying it because you connect with that art, you connect with the artist and their journey. But then the investor side of me is all about returns. Like, this is real money that I'm putting at risk. I don't want to lose my money. Will this be worth more in the future? And I have two different wallets for those things. So with the investment side, the way that I would say categorize like a 10,000 piece collection of PFP collection is the same way I would categorize or due diligence on a startup. You have to evaluate the team. You have to make sure that they're in it for the long term, that they're not just going to get to launch and then essentially leave with the money that they've accumulated. You have to make sure that their creation is something that they're passionate about, that they have community building skills. And one thing that's so unique about Web3, especially for NFT projects, it's like if a startup was fundraising and their investors were also their customers, and you got their investors and customers and you put them all into Discord or a messaging tool, and you just had a direct connection with them at all times. And that's something that is so unique in this space, where you can get a sense for. You don't even have to invest in the project yet. You can jump in the Discord and see what that community is like, see what their roadmap and intention in the future is like, and then decide on whether or not you want to invest in that project.
If I could just jump in on that, one of the cool things that I love about this for artists is because it makes artists almost create like their own business plan. It's like, this is why my art has value. This is what I'm building. This is the world. This is why it will accrue in value. And that's never happened before. The artist has always been at the behest of like the gallery gatekeepers, right? The studio gatekeepers. And it's so wonderful that they can actually do this and get real investors.
Yes, and I want to add on something. Sometimes people forget that NFTs are just a vehicle of value. At the end, you gotta see it as a business. If the value proposition makes sense, it's gonna do well.
Can you touch more on that and how you kind of approach whether it has value in general or it can be of value to you?
We could use an example: Bored Ape Yacht Club. Okay, this is a 10,000 PFP who has broken every, how can I say it, boundary in the space, because the owners have done a pretty good job at delivering value to the community. As my friend said, this is a unique business model because your clients are your partners. So if the business model does well, everybody does well. So it's you gotta find a community that is focused on the same vision and are willing to put in the work to take that vision to the next level.
Thank you.
And
So
I'll jump in also. If anyone's noticed, JD has his Bored Ape Yacht Club hoodie on, so that is a brand in itself. I am wearing a Dead Fellas shirt, which is another NFT project. So it's not, Web3 is not just about digital, it's about bringing that digital into real life as well. And these NFT projects are creating such a atmosphere that it has their customers / investors wanting to represent them in all settings. I think that's incredibly powerful. So NFT projects aren't just about a PFP or a JPEG, but also about a brand.
That's right. 1,000%. We will absolutely be giving exclusive Canticos merchandise to our Canticos fans that are supporting our Canticos drop. We'll be doing exclusive events. There'll be co-producers in our long-form animated series. So we're all about, you're now a part of this community. I text directly with, buyers that are interested. So yeah, it's a relationship.
Can we stay on this for a moment? And to back up a little bit, we have to keep in mind that also I'm not crypto native by any means. So let's just explain that a little bit more, maybe without using acronyms is a good challenge. so explain that maybe, Susie, how it is giving you access directly to your consumer or community and allowing you to build that relationship. And then maybe the second part, we can go to JD or somebody else about how you all win together. Like, what are the mechanisms here?
So honestly, it's good old fashioned Twitter and Discord when I go in there, but really it's Twitter. I have a lot of people just messaging me, telling me how excited they are about the drop, how vested they are, how they knew about the property, and now they're really excited to buy the NFT. So it's mainly that has how people communicate. But there's also Discord, where if you go in there, there's a larger community, and we'll start to do more events in there eventually. But Discord is a bit of a crazy landscape right now. I'll be completely frank. I discovered Discord through my 12-year-old gamer son, right? And now it is the default NFT platform, and it's cumbersome. It's not as smooth sailing as a lot of the other social network platforms. I'm guessing that a lot of them will be worked out soon. But usually it's Twitter.
Okay, and I'm gonna take the other question, the win-win situation. Specifically for the clubs, okay, I'm gonna use then again Bored Apes Yacht Club as an example. This is a 10,000 membership club that it works something like Soho House. They're trying to bring exclusive experiences to their members in the real world. They bought a nightclub in Miami that you're only gonna be allowed to go if you own an ape. They have exclusive events. For example, in New York, in NYC NFT, they had a private party. They also gonna have events in the Metaverse. So if the club becomes cooler, if more interesting people joins the club, that's gonna create a demand for the token. And the owners of the club are the ones who own the NFT. There's 10,000 memberships. If the demand goes up, the price goes up as well. To put it into real world example, the apes started costing around $300. Right now, the price for the cheapest ape is 300,000, and that's in a year. I mean, what I'm saying is that the appreciation of these assets, it's due to scarcity, and as almost every commodity in the world works.
So I do want to give a chance to ask or let the members ask a question. So if you're virtual, I'm actually looking at the chat, so you can do that. If you're in person, I believe the mechanism is walking up to me. So you can just walk up and I'll hand you the mic. And we have one walking up, so we'll transition there. Maybe introduce yourself while you're...
Hello, everybody. Will Salvi from Salvi Media. I love the example of if the creator of the Mickey Mouse character had control over that, how much money would he or she make?
Totally.
As more enterprise money comes in to NFTs, to crypto, how does one or the community or the technology prevent the creators from getting pigeonholed again? Maybe I don't understand the technology well enough, but.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Mickey Mouse example that you gave, it made me think as more enterprise money or larger, just larger scale investment goes into crypto and
Right.
into NFTs, how do the creators still remain in control of their creation and or don't get pigeonholed from getting pushed out again?
So that's the beauty of it. I mean, you have to start your project on this blockchain outside of corporate and get enterprise to invest in you. In the case of Encantos, we're incredibly creator friendly. So we're going to build a one-stop shop NFT platform where artists can come and mint their NFTs and retain control over their NFTs and over their creative properties. So that's something that we are building and doing now. But otherwise, it's really difficult still to find that one-stop stop as a creator. And as an investor, you have to go through and just look at roadmaps, look at the IP, and just critically examine, do you think it has a chance? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think the artwork is going to resonate? All these different, do you think there's a need for this IP, right? So it's also you as an investor taking a critical look at these opportunities and really deciding what does the world need.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
To switch topics a little bit, Jesus, I want to come back to you from the individual side and maybe from the artist perspective. Is it, and because you're a little bit earlier into the space than some of us are, or maybe a lot earlier, but how has your life, call it, changed, or how do you feel about this space growing and growing so quickly?
Well, there's a lot of mixed emotions with that because from an institutional standpoint, institutions have objectives. They have certain deadlines or certain, certain money they have to make in the space. But I feel like the artists that are pioneering in the space are doing a great job in terms of keeping everything authentic and genuine. They self-govern each other, and if anyone does like something bad or someone tries to do something wrong to another artist or another collector, they're automatically called out, which I think is a pretty cool to see. And just personally, like I used to sell flowers to make a living with my parents in the street of LA, and now like I'm about to buy them their house. I have a big drop tomorrow on Super Rare. It's gonna be all philanthropic, and it's gonna give back to like what I wrote low income families that that's where I come from, low income, and now I can finally give back to the world. And just it's just been a privilege to be in this space, but at the same time, like giving back is my number one thing. And as an artist personally, if I make $1 million, I want to give back to the world or to the community $2 million, and that's how I'm always going to operate. Just because I come from nothing personally, and I just want to give back to the world. That's what I always wanted to do.
Yeah, and we do that too. It's actually really important, and it's another thing that enables you to do. Not only can you fund the content or the work that you want to make, you can also give back to causes that are really important to you. And in our case, it's all about education. It's all about kids, and especially kids in low income situations that need help on that front. So it's all about education.
And on that note, I'll jump in and just emphasize like how giving people in Web3 are. It's unlike anything I've really seen before. I think part of that is because of kind of the open source nature and that we're so early, so there's no real sense of competition. Like we're building the table together so we can build ourselves chairs, and we're learning from each other. So like everyone's in it together and willing to help out, whether it's like information or resources, anything. But that's just been the general optimism in the space. And when you get that kind of energy every single day, it makes it scale so much faster.
So staying on that topic for a second there, did you always have that thought though? And this leads to my question of, and I don't know if we've answered it quite clear yet, and Orlando will come back to you, of how do we get to that point because there is a lot of opportunity here. Yeah, sorry, OG, go to you.
Oh, yeah.
And this is about overcoming that skepticism, because maybe hypothetically, I invested in this DAO that was called Invictus DAO that was going to promise me 1,000% return in 10 days. And so I did, and I put $250 in to lose it all in 10 days. So if that, hypothetically, if that was my first experience with crypto and blockchain, how do I overcome that? And how do I get to a point where I am getting that community sensation or that positive, we're all in this together from crypto?
That's a really good point. I think it's really important to share the losses as well in this space. It's not all wins. You're not guaranteed going to be rich by just investing in anything crypto related. And part of that is like with Web3 Familia, we're really careful about like the words we use, especially like I have a background in teaching financial literacy to the Latino community. I taught in the Peace Corps and I taught it before. And as soon as you say, this is a guarantee, our walls go up and they're like, oh, this is just another scammer because we've been preyed on by scammers in the past. So it becomes this thing of, okay, like we want to onboard you to crypto. We want you to learn about Web3, but we want you to be safe. And security should always be mentioned every time you're in there, because not only is Web3 a financial literacy thing, but it's also a tech literacy thing. And when you combine those two, it becomes exponentially harder. So it, like, as long as people are transparent in their projects, whether they do good or bad, they don't have to say numbers. We can still maintain the kind of that trust level across the community.
Yeah, to add on into that, I would compare this moment in the crypto industry with a .com, in the sense that there's a lot of hype behind it, but in reality, 98% of the projects are going to fail in the next 10 years. That doesn't mean that the technology doesn't make sense. We still are using the internet. That's going to happen with NFTs, with crypto. The technology makes a lot of sense and it's going to improve the way we live. But if you want to get into it, you got to do it with a risk management strategy. Yes, thank you. Like, pretty well said. Why I'm saying that? It's because it's a really volatile, irregulated market that in reality, there's a lot of scams.
Yeah.
There's 2% of projects that are going to do really well, and maybe they become the next Facebook, the next Apple, who knows? But in reality, you got to be really careful on how you approach.
And can we talk about like the prevalence of bots everywhere? Like, I'm pretty sure that, like, what's the percentage of Twitter that's bots? I want to say like 75%. Really?
Something like that. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. So just because you see a lot of like activity or hype around a project, you know,
it doesn't mean that it's good.
Dig deeper. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about this industry that people, there's something good and bad about it. It's that because you take out the intermediaries or like the middlemen, you have to take responsibility on your assets and on your security. That's something that people don't get. If you do it well, your assets are going to be secure.
Yeah.
But there's like a learning curve that you got to go through first. So that's why the best way to learn is to study, and you can be a part of it without investing.
Yep.
After you become savvy about it, then you can put money into it.
Well, and you can start.
Sorry. I want to take a second here, and one, because I know maybe one or two of you have to drop off, but to thank you for being here. And I recommend everybody, both in person and virtual, to follow the 4 individuals on the screen, because I cannot tell you enough how much deeper this conversation could go. And every single individual up here has a very, very unique, not only story from a personal standpoint, but approach to crypto and what they're doing that is very interesting to follow on its own. But I know that, JD, you have to go in a little bit. I want to, and we'll go around the horn here, ask what can Angeles, or how can Angeles support you, or what do you recommend to our group that is both focused on investment, but we're also centered around a thesis of investing in underrepresented groups, specifically Latinos, or shining that spotlight on these communities?
Yes. I don't know if you guys as a investment group invest in Latin America or only in USA, because my approach to the industry, I mean, how I see it is this is booming in the USA. There's a lot of projects, a lot of competition. What I decided to do is to turn back into Latin America and create projects here. Why? Because there's 650 million people. There's a lot of talent, a lot of creativity, and there's a lot of money in our continent. So that's why I decided to create one of the first communities. It's around comedy, not because I'm a comedian, it's because my partner is. So what we did is, what we want to do is to create different IPs that help transition brands into the space. And the main focus is education. I think that's the first steps to prepare the market. So what I would ask you guys, it's that there's a lot of, how can I say it, projects like Web3 Familia that are supporting this education. Take a look into that, because I think the education industry is first in this space. And if we Latinos can get educated, I think we're going to do really well with it.
Thank you, JD.
Well, thank you.
Jesus, I know that you might have to go soon in a little bit. So why don't we go to you then? And I know you mentioned you had an upcoming drop, but can you talk more about, one, keep in mind, what does that mean? And two, how can we support you?
So I can't really go into specifics about the drop, but it'll be on the block. We'll be breaking the news tomorrow about it, and it's going to be on Complex and a lot of medias, and it's a very meaningful drop. Ironically, with very famous comedian. So I can't say the name yet, but all the proceeds are going to go towards low income youth and low income families that need mental health services. And in terms of helping, I would say, just investing in, like what JD said, in educational resources like Web3 Familia, and just continue supporting, Latino artists and, Latino people in the space. And I think that's the best approach you can do. Just continue supporting and continue like using your resources to help the Web3 community, specifically like Latino or like underrepresented communities in the space.
Thank you, Jesus. Shifting gears a little bit, somebody touched on this earlier, but it was about one of the core aspects of decentralization, right? And the blockchain being one of the central pillars or core facets of why it's interesting. Susie, when we first heard the Encantos pitch from Steven, I remember one of the very first things he said to us was that institutions are failing us, and which is very dramatic, not dramatic. It's very stunning. But that's part of the thesis here, right? And so that I wanted you to kind of touch on how those two align, and if you intentionally had this technology align perfectly, or it just fit into the thesis.
So I couldn't agree with Stephen more. I think that schools are failing their kids. Schools are designed for a 19th century industry that is follow instructions, right? Do what I tell you to do. And they're not really designed to cultivate creativity and critical thinking and to problem solve for things that haven't been invented yet, right? And that's what our kids will need to do. So we think that schools are failing their kids. They're not teaching the 21st century kids skills that kids need to learn. And we also think that the infrastructure, the studio infrastructure that exists is failing artists. Artists get a really bad deal in the studio industry. You own nothing, you get paid flat fees, you get paid low flat fees, you're relatively interchangeable. So we're disrupting both of those things. We're going direct to learner instead of direct to school. And honestly, if Stephen were here, he would say, we had this planned all along. But the truth of the matter is technology caught up to us, right? Right when we had this premise of we're going to make a creative platform where creators can come who are inspired to help kids learn, all of a sudden, blockchain was just there. And this was a perfect way to launch, creative projects. So it was very, synergistic, like the stars aligned. I mean, we really believe that creative people, storytellers, are educators with superpowers when they create stories with purpose to help kids learn. If you know anything about Canticos, you know that's what we do. We share our language and our culture, Espanol, and we teach kids to be kindergarten ready in 2 language and to get to know all of our cultures. So I would encourage you to follow Canticos NFT on Twitter and just watch our journey, especially if you're new to Web3 and you're new to this whole NFT thing. Watch us grow, watch and see what we do. Following Cantos as well. I think that what we're doing is truly disruptive for the education industry and also for the entertainment industry, and it's just really exciting time.
A question from our audience, and I believe I'm phrasing this right. So, Leanne, if I'm not, please let me know. How do we envision the NFT world scaling if a lot of the conversations are happening directly right now on Discord? And I think she's getting at is that exclusivity or scarcity is embedded in these communities. So with that component of it, how does this scale to anyone?
Okay, I can answer for Latin America. In Latin America, nobody uses Discord. It's a reality. So we're using Telegram, we're using Instagram, we're doing a lot of mainstream media interviews, we're doing one-on-ones. I mean, I think the industry has to adapt to the people to make the onboarding easier. I think right now it's a really small group of people that if they wanna, explode this opportunity, they're gonna have to adapt to that reality.
I would also add.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Along with that, Twitter is really good at disseminating information. However, a lot of the Latino world isn't on Twitter, to be frank. Like it's WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn even. So when trying to educate and share your resources, you need to get on the platforms where Latinos are and where they're going to hear you. And on top of that, like one approach that we've taken is an intimate Zoom workshop, much like this, where you have maybe 10 people on a call and you just show them how to open up a MetaMask wallet. Very simple things with one objective goal, and that solves for 2 things. It onboards, but it also helps overcome that trust barrier, which is incredibly critical. So a lot of the conversation does concentrate for some projects within Discord, but in order to scale, we absolutely need to try other platforms as well.
Susie?
So I'm completely, we agree. We partnered recently with Suma Wealth actually to specifically sort of demysticize Web3 and help onboard Latinos. Latinos traditionally get left behind, and the Black community is on crypto because it's been in the music for a real long time, and the music industry is on crypto. And so we really feel passionately about bringing our community onto the blockchain and helping them navigate and get that opportunity to start to invest and to start to build community there. And yeah, it's you have to proceed with caution, but you should proceed.
Jesus?
Just double down on education and please get a cold wallet, a ledger. I cannot say that enough. A ledger keeps your assets secure. It keeps you going to sleep from headaches, going to sleep, and just take the time to educate yourself on what is a ledger and how to unlock it, how to lock it, seed phrases, have a backup, just in case you lose it, you gotta back up one too. So because if you lose it, you pretty much lose your money, which is, I think JD talked about that, like you're in charge of your own privacy in this space, and Web2, like security breaches, and there's no security breaches because you're in charge of your own assets and own money in this space, which is a blessing, but at the same time too, you gotta take the time to educate yourself fast on how to keep those safe.
And don't give your passphrase to anybody, no matter how many Discord people ask you for it.
Maybe now to a more nuanced question. Does anybody have opinions on investing in real estate in the metaverse? Perhaps when you start answering this question, answer the question, what is the metaverse?
Okay, that sounds fair. I mean, I'm investing in real estate in the metaverse. I think it makes sense. In which metaverse? That's the 1 million question. But I think to make it simple, the metaverse is going to be like the Matrix. It's going to be this virtual world where all the world is going to interact, and we're going to create economies there. We're going to make a living there, and there's many competitors in the space, and a lot of big players are getting into it. Facebook is going to make their own. So I think it's a smart move, but then again, I cannot recommend any specific.
Anybody else there?
I know, I'll say this. I think part of me dies a little bit when I see that we're investing so much in the metaverse and not in our actual Earth that needs so much love and attention. And I know that this is coming, and I think we're still probably 5 to 10 years out until it really is a major thing. I don't think we can ignore it. It's coming for sure. Right now, we are just focused on experiences that people can have within the next year, but the metaverse is absolutely a part of what we're building.
I also think I'm not invested in the real estate in the metaverse, but I see what's attractive to it. It seems that there's returns happening there. Celebrities are building there. I know Snoop Dogg has a home there, and the properties next to him are worth more than other properties. And it all goes back to this concept of digital scarcity. So if a celebrity has a plot on the blockchain, there's only so many plots that can be purchased. And I know we can't physically live there, but it does become valuable once those plots become taken. So again, crypto is speculative for the most part, and that real estate in the metaverse is a higher level of speculation.
Is this a circular conversation of do we need a website? We right back there again. It might be a little bit like that, right? Where we're at that inflection point of, do I need a website in this internet thing?
Do I need a home in the metaverse? Chipotle had a metaverse. Anyway. Oh, I realized, OG, I didn't give you a chance to not only plug yourself, but also talk about Web3 Familia, how Angeles can get involved, where maybe we can get involved more directly and indirectly.
Yeah, so Web3 Familia is essentially, the strength comes from the community. And in the community, we have learners, we have builders. We don't have too many Web3 founders yet, but every day more and more are coming. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in either learning Web3 or possibly scouting deal flow for Latino founders of Web3 to join our Discord. You can find it through our Twitter bio. And if you're an investor, you can help Web3 founders with their pitch deck or help them navigate the circles, and also kind of give some grace to how early we are, because we are early. You're not going to see a fully built out pitch deck with 10-year forecast, and if you do, you should run, because no one can forecast that in Web3 right now. But I would just recommend getting active, participate within Web3. You can read blogs, you could listen to podcasts, but the best way is to actually engage with the blockchain, and hop in our Discord and follow us on Twitter, and that would be super helpful.
Thanks, Orlando. Now, I know that I've made jokes up here tonight, but I think I do want to emphasize that this space, a lot of individuals, and now you see it picking up from the enterprise side, is actually being taken very seriously from companies. OpenSea did more volume than Etsy did last year, and probably will continue to do that for the rest of time. And you have to keep in mind the business opportunity there when it comes to Etsy, who's delivering physical products on a 20 to 40% margin versus, call it a 90% margin when it comes to OpenSea. And there are different examples like that. And the reason I say that is because you want to kind of move yourself from that level of skepticism to that curiosity, to the opportunity, and start realizing some of this stuff to know and discover what your personal interest or what your personal use case will be when it comes to this technology. So as we start wrapping up here, I do want to give the floor back to you guys and to give us some closing thoughts, whether it is just some advice or how we can get involved, or any of your own personal perspectives on the future of blockchain, crypto, metaverse, NFTs. Let's do JD.
Okay, well, to all you guys, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for listening to us in this, you know, new industry. And what I would recommend is to have that sense of curiosity as looking in hindsight, think about this about like the internet. Okay, it's a huge opportunity. It doesn't make sense to everyone, and whoever gets on early, it's going to have a lot of opportunities to build this new world. So I would recommend to at least give it a shot. And yeah, if you have any questions, Twitter is a great place. You can follow us. We're open. Our DMs are open, and we're happy to help.
Thanks, JD. Susie?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, the good news is like you don't have to like go in and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? You could just, go in, open a wallet, invest a couple dollars here, a couple dollars, just regular portfolio management, right? You just diversify. And I mean, by all means, be on the journey with us. Follow Canticos NFT. Watch our journey. We are partnered with a lot of folks in the space. We're an Angeles portfolio company. We know everyone literally in the Latino investment space, and this is a massive part of what we're doing in terms of building a creator platform. We can't underscore enough how important we think Web3 is going to be as a game changer to education, to communities, and to the influence that parents can have on what their kids get involved in, and that connection between community and creator.
OG? You might be on mute. Oh, just a lag.
I'd say keep that curiosity and that optimism in the space. And when you are looking at projects or any investments in crypto, try to reframe it as what is the need that this is trying to solve. And if you encounter a problem in the real world, think to yourself, like, how can the blockchain fix this? How can transparency and social coordination fix this? And then try to find those use cases, because the use cases for crypto are unlimited at this point. And if you can find, it's not just coins and NFTs, like JD mentioned earlier, NFTs, I also believe that are the Trojan horse to onboard many, but they're not the last stop. There's DAOs, there's the Metaverse real estate as well. So just keep an open mind and always ask yourself, like, can the blockchain work here? And how can I learn more about that?
And Jesus closes out.
Like I said, just build genuine relationships in the space. What matters most is the person behind the Twitter account and behind the avatar. That's most important at the end of the day. And those are the people that are going to invest in you. And just, if you have a project, those are the people that are going to invest in you. And in terms of investing into PFPs, like take a look of who's investing into collections, or like whales investing on them, or like well-known, people that are genuinely building in the space, invested in them. And that'll pretty much tell you like where the project can go. And this one's a little bit dicey, but I feel like roadmaps are good and bad at the same time, because your roadmaps can set you up for failure, because things happen in life, situations can happen in life. Like life is a roller coaster too, just like crypto is volatile. And so just like invest in the people actually behind the project or the artists behind that. And if you trust them and they're fully transparent with you, then your investment will be, I don't want to say secure, but that's a pretty good bet on that investment. And I will say it again, please invest in a ledger.
I don't hear anything. Do you guys?
Mm-mm.
Before we close here, we did get a question in the chat to JD, what is Comedy Monsters Club?
Okay, Comedy Monsters Club. It's the first comedy club of Latin America. What we're doing is we created 10,100 memberships that it's built around comedy lovers. And what we do is we bring events, experiences, we listen what the community is asking, and we deliver in the sense of value through comedy, pretty much. I don't know if that explained it.
I love comedy. I actually do love stand-up comedy. But thank you very much. I want to give a chance for everyone to do a round of applause, both virtually and in person. And like I said during this discussion, if Angeles, if there's anything this community can do for you, do let us know. Obviously, with Susie and Cantos, we're here supporting you, and that goes for everyone else. And with that, I'll pass it back to David.
Yeah, so let's give Carlos a round of applause for moderating this esteemed panel. And I would just add, I think a couple things that we can do, right? You can get out there and purchase a monster in JD's Comedy Monster Club. I can't wait for these Canticos NFTs that get created, the little pollitos, and they're doing the besitos and all that stuff. So, but you can buy one of them, pretty small investment, buy one of those and follow Web3 Familia. And this drop that Jesus is going to do tomorrow should be pretty interesting to see. Kind of, I don't know. He sounds like he's got some big stars coming out to support him. So I think those are a couple different ways. And trillions of dollars going to be invested in here. So from an investment perspective, I think it's definitely something to pay attention. So those who are here, we're going to walk downstairs to the faculty club. We'll have some drinks and some Canela music, and then we'll get to hear from Isabel and Adela talking about Isabel's journey and a little bit more about Canela music. And those who are in the Metaverse on Hopin on the you can you'll be able to listen to Canela music and be entertained that way and grab a drink and get ready. We'll be back on, I don't know, about 45 minutes or so for the CHARLA and fireside chat with Adela and Isabel. So thank you, everyone, and we'll be back soon.